Well, this is gonna be good. You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
What a great day to be alive! I had a nightmare about crashing New Gleba, but it was definitely just a bad dream. I'm sure that my quick nap wasn't really long. Oh. Maybe we don't have to talk about that? As there is a lot of to do. We need to finally conquer the rest of the solar system and beat this pesky space age, once and for all. But before going again to Gleba, we have a lot to do on our already conquered planets. First of all is Nauvis, still to be exact, and with our glorious foundries it just asks about redesigning. This is aftermath of creation, really compact and fast build, perfect for our needs. Quick connection of raw ores and it started working flawlessly. This will make whole factory supplied in steel. While I was thinking about what we should rebuild next, I noticed that on Vulcanus the tungsten mine wasn't working at all, so I quickly deconstructed everything there and started building mine in a different way. When I placed all the miners, I had to make a big belt mess to get all of these materials to the train station. Next, I balanced belts using balancer, and after that, new setup started working, and factory was again supplied in tungsten. In between, we lost our Fulgora ship, probably because of low power, so no more research with electromagnetic science, until we built new spacecraft. Since we were changing the Nauvis base, I decided to get back into it. Next on my list were circuits. First ones were greens, and with help of electromagnetic plants it was done in no time. Now our production is up to 240 per second. After greens are reds, so I destroyed previous setup and in the same place I built production of 120 red circuits per second. No more problems with them in our base. With these new production lines a new problem appeared, power. I decided to build one more of already existing nuclear plant, and when it started working I solved power problem for now. So right after the previous plant I started looking for place for additional 2 gigawatts of energy. So on the place of 2 smaller ones I placed new one. With this huge power boost I went back to changing our base. Next was yellow science. I built a new crafting that uses glorious modules and watched how it starts making yellow bottles for labs. With our previously destroyed ship I thought that we need to invest in better solar panels. So I made small quality solar grinder, and with that in near future we will have some rare solars for our needs. After that I thought I would upgrade all the belts in base to green ones, and with that I can say we finished upgrading Nauvis. For now. Since we lost Fulgora Express, it was time to build a new one. So I started with a little bit of engines, built fuel storage and made way too much chemical plants for fuel crafting, as a first part of ship creation. Meanwhile, the pollution cloud was spreading over more and more land. So in order to prevent attacks on our base, I jumped into a tank and went to peacefully talk with our neighbors. After all of this hard work, it turned out that tungsten patch depleted, so I packed some uranium tank shells and went to Vulcanus to fix the problem. Firstly, I deconstructed whole tungsten outpost, all miners, all belts and all train tracks we will use to build a new one. Then I chose to build a new station near place where we mainly use tungsten, made new path to nearest tungsten patch, placed lots of miners, and the tungsten problem was solved. We needed to gain more territory, and to gain territory we need to defeat demolishers. So it was time to use uranium tank shells, which are really effective at killing them. With the newly acquired surface we could solve the appearing coal problem. So I started building rails to huge coal deposit. Again, placed some miners on the resource and made train station in a place of previous coal patch, with the help of elevated rails, to have coal supply in the same place. With most of Vulcanus problems solved, I returned to creating new spaceship. I placed first turrets and asteroid collectors, and tried to place solars, but after tedious work, I decided to just move whole engine unit closer to the center of platform. Then I prepared iron smelting and ammo crafting to ensure safety on the platform, and finally placed more solar panels and accumulators to avoid power problems. And new ship was ready to go. I jumped on it and went to Fulgora, the last planet to make changes on. First on Fulgora's to-do list was more power, so I transformed another island into a power bank to have more energy. I have big plans for Fulgora, but I won't be spoilering it now, but main thing of it is a new base, so I made huge railroad to place of new base. Another major problem with the base is trash facility, which doesn't work very well. I deconstructed everything and I came up with new idea. Now all recyclers will destroy every item and all of them will work at the same time, making deletion of items faster and more versatile. On the other side of the planet I started working on a new base. I made a blueprint for a power bank and again turned the whole island into it, and along with removing structures from the ground on new factory island I built a power grid. With the space prepared I started building new recycler place. Now we will use birds instead of robots. Then I put quality modules in the recyclers, so it is easy to see that I'm making a quality focused base. As now we are getting spaghetti belts of materials, it is crucial to sort them. So in the end of recyclers row I started building lots of chests and splitters to have clean supply of resources. Now we are collecting every material in storage chests, and if we will have too much materials they will go with this belt to recyclers, creating a loop and getting rid of excess materials. Nothing else left than connecting scrap to recyclers, so I done that and everything started working as intended. I was so impressed by how well it works that I immediately built second one and also connected scrap there. As to get more buildings we need to go back and forth to old base. I decided to make crafting of essential buildings here. Also to grind quality items we needed holmium in every state, so I quickly made ice melting and holmium solution to have plates for electromagnetic plants. Our quality base consumes a lot of modules, so the right time has come to make quality modules crafting. 12 electromagnetic plants for all available qualities will give us a lot of desired modules for the future, but you might ask, Omega, what will be done with surplus of normal quality modules? Answer is simple, trash them. So in a small island corner I prepared module trashing facility. It will also provide us with additional quality materials for production. This quality modules factory could be used for making other types of modules. So after small blueprints parametrization, I built production of quality, speed, efficiency and productivity modules. As we needed humongous amount of quality materials, our destruction loop of excess items was too slow. I made similar trashing facility as the one in the old base, just here to make the flow of new resources faster. Now I prepared a framework on Roboport's example, how we will grind Nauvis quality buildings. After that done, I started working on quality items from Fulgora, so I made small electrolyte production for lightning rods. These are really OP because the higher quality they are, the more power they give from lightnings. With energy here comes accumulators, so I also made quality grinder of them, similar to our framework, but here they use electromagnetic plants to gather 50% productivity bonus. Next I placed quality recycler grinder because they are faster with every level, and also I prepared grinder of electromagnetic plants, which in future we will be using them to make faster modules. Grinding electro plants consumes thousands of holmium plates, so I increased the production of holmium solution and placed more foundries to get more plates faster. With holmium plates production secured, I went back to building quality grinders, so chemical plants, assemblers, furnaces and beacons. With this huge expansion of the factory we needed more materials, so I built 2 more of scrap recyclers. After using extremely much quality modules for recyclers, I quickly copied and placed another quality modules crafting to get even more of those modules. And with new steady supply of modules I went back to the grinders, and this time we had solar panels, turbines, heat exchangers and space platform parts. Then, as we already had some quality machines, I built rocket silos to export these items and prepared rocket fuel production to construct rockets. In between I saw that we were lacking space science, so I decided to completely redesign the whole platform. I prepared big asteroid collector arms to get as much materials as possible without moving platform out of Nauvis orbit, placed some assemblers with productivity modules and created carbon and ice processing, linked them to the rest, and after a while production of science skyrocketed. With some rare productivity modules I changed all the old modules in the labs for better ones, and for a second we had over 1000 science per minute, which was a lot compared to normal Factorio before Space Age. As our scrap deposits on the main island were depleting, I quickly built mining outposts on a 23 million scrap patch. placed accumulators to provide energy and connected them via trains to already working scrap recyclers. After finally finishing necessary work everywhere, I jumped into Spaceship loaded with quality goods and quickly transported myself to long-awaited Gleba, landing on this horrendously hot planet for the first time. First what I did, I took a walk around the neighborhood, looking if this place will be good for our base, even having first talks with the natives living there. Then I placed cargo landing pad and dumped all the buildings and things we will need here, quickly made power grid and built a bunch of solars and accumulators to jumpstart power. Main machine here is a biochamber, so I started working on getting them. A little bit of stone to make landfill and items from Nauvis, and in a short period of time I had first biochambers to work with. To secure supplies from ships, I built automatic space request using circuit power, and set every quality item that we will ever need here. Since we won't be able to run the factory using just solars, I have started to design a power plant that will use burning towers and turbines. We will generate heat from wood and rocket fuel, and this heat will make steam for the beloved turbines that will ensure our power supply. With this energy I made stone mine to collect more landfill for biochambers. Now with huge supply of these machines I started designing all fruit processing. Whole problem here is spoiling and nutrients, so I thought about the bot base again to solve spoilage problem. Fruits will come from request chests and products will go into yellow chests, and then boss will move those items wherever they are needed. With the first design completed I simply changed settings inside biochambers, and just like that we also had a good first processing of purple fruits. All of these processings built before were totally messed from an efficiency perspective, so in same idea I built bioflux crafting. As you can see here, this was even bigger, not optimized mess than previous builds, but it will last for a while. Since power here depends on rocket fuel supplied from Nauvis, I decided to make a production of those here. 8 biochambers, some water and belts with bioflux and jelly, and this will take care of our fuel needs. The next stop in our quest to conquer Gleba is science, and to achieve this we need loop of eggs. With the use of robots that will transport nutrients and a belt that will supply machines with eggs, we will have infinite egg production. So there was nothing left to do but to actually build this science assembly. So I quickly made 8 biochambers and connected all the necessary materials via the requester chest, and the science production started easily. To that point we had only 9 different sciences, but now we not only have 10, but also we have spoilage. So I decided to make the whole lab unit fully logistic to solve spoilage problem. With the increased production here we needed more fruits, therefore I placed more harvesters on both green and purple soil, and now we can plant even more plants at the same time. Since the bioflux production was a disaster, I thought I would rebuild the whole unit, also to use power of beacon placed in the middle. In the beacon I will put efficiency modules to balance nutrients consumption, as I also put productivity modules in the biochambers, and then I placed whole production line in the desired place. With this huge plantation, Gleba pollution started arriving to nearest native bases, so I decided to surround whole base by gun turrets. This will protect us for now. To supply these defenses we need ammunition, so I also made an endless loop of iron from bacteria and copper, also from bacteria, to make piercing ammo. Then I saw that egg production wasn't enough, so I prepared new faster egg production with the use of beacons and productivity modules, and placed them instead of previous ones. With securing base on Gleba I thought to do similar thing on Nauvis, so I started from logistic network expansion. In between of this work I came across separate and interesting biter base, so I conquered it, destroyed every splitter nest and created zoo for myself to see how biters are trying to achieve something but actually they can't do anything. In the meantime I prepared blueprint of defense walls for Nauvis, and I secured whole perimeter around our base, ensuring safety within the walls. As our transports from different planets were growing rapidly, I decided to create new spaceship again. I started with cargo space, in between I made small nuclear reactor for huge power supply, then I made sure that we will always have water for steam, and I moved to making engine unit. Now the last thing to do is safety. I decided to build foundries to make ammunition and small carbon reprocessing for rockets, which will make us sure that this ship will never be destroyed, and the ship went on its first voyage. Then I replaced all the ships in our fleet with new ones. After rebuilding fleet I made some changes in smelting area. Firstly I deconstructed iron and copper smelting because stone furnaces were actually gross, and I replaced them with new designs that uses foundries to be faster and more efficient. Then I went to my biter zoo and shooted each nest with special rockets to get control of the eggs production inside. Now we can make the most OP key building in the Space Age, Biolab, which has 50% less science consumption. I made small crafting of them, and at the same time I designed new science blueprint and set requests in blue chests to start researching technologies in new biolabs. Also, with finally having eggs, I could make tier 3 of productivity modules, so I created small setup of those, of course with quality modules, to have chances to get even better productivity module. And also because higher quality modules need higher quality eggs, I made upcycler of them to maximize chances of getting best module. After several hours of grinding quality, I changed modules in assemblers, and as well as the machines themselves, to increase science output and with it research speed. Having done this huge amount of work on Nauvis, I couldn't stand the nightmare that was Gleba production, so I moved there and started thinking how to make it work better. The first thing I did was solving materials shortage, just by setting filter to only pick up spoilage. I considered for a second if that was enough Gleba time to not get mentally sick, but I chose to stay here and completely redesign the whole production. I started by laying down a lot of concrete and choose a place to start on the right side of the base. At first I thought that I would just use the same production units, but after building them and thinking for a while, I understood that this would not make any difference and started preparing new designs. I wanted not only achieve here bus base, but also make self-contained productions, from raw fruits to final products. And first production which also be part of bus was bioflux. I calculated that 3 Yamako and 1 jelly will cover 3 bioflux biochambers, and after a hard time of trying to squeeze everything as tightly as possible, I had a basis for a new Gleba production. Along with creating this production line, I started preparing more farmland for plants, especially red ones, so I placed extremely much of soil and placed enough harvesters to cover the whole farm. And as first plants were flowing on bus, the first bioflux was crafted in biochambers. Since the power here relies on rocket fuel, I chose this as second thing to focus on. 6 biochambers fully modules will use materials from 2 jelly nut processing and bioflux from main bus, and after placing whole production in correct spot, I started producing George's rocket fuel. On the main bus we not only have bioflux, but also Yamako, jelly nut and spoilage, and in order to always have as fresh fruits as they can be, I decided to build burners at the end of the bus. The freshest is the best, that's my motto here. In the meantime I made crafting of rocket silos, and that is the result. We won't need any more than that, I'm 100% sure. As you can see, we do not burn spoilage. Why? Answer is simple, because 1, we can do other things with it, and 2, we can grind better quality of it. So at the end of the spoilage loop, I created 8 recyclers, put quality modules there, and separate each quality to different chests. In this way, we now also have a production of quality spoilage, for quality efficiency modules. Now it was time to do the other thing, which is carbon fiber. I started designing a factory of it, made crafting of carbon from spoilage, and production started working as intended. Then I connected it directly to rockets, and with that there is one thing left to do. It was time for science. Finally good build. With this crafting is one main problem: eggs. So I decided to make for each science machine separate egg loop, and to make sure that eggs will always prioritize their loop, I set conditions on inserters only to take eggs for science when inside of chest is more than 3 of them. I also put the best productivity modules inside, made separate nutrients crafting for each machine block, and standalone beds to pull spoilage when needed. Then I placed 3 of these builds in a line, connected water, and production started, again going straight to rocket silos. And with that, huge Gleba overhaul was complete. I jumped into rocket and went back to Nauvis. I decided not to waste any more time and quickly build a new spaceship, because now we are going to the last resort in solar system, Aquilo. When building process was finished, I packed necessary items from Nauvis and some of the glorious quality ones from Fulgora, and for the first time I flew across the dangerous road straight to the Aquilo orbit. I quickly landed on the icy island and tried to place solars, but as it turned out I forgot to take any power poles, so I had to send ship back to Nauvis, and after a while I could create first power on Aquilo. I wasn't slowing down and prepared heating towers to get some heat, and made first ice filmmaker to be able to expand my island. With a bigger island I could start thinking about better power supply, so I made this power plant, which will give us just enough power to make first steps here. Since we are now using rocket fuel to make power, we couldn't rely on transport from other planets, Therefore, I placed 2 chemical plants, one for solid fuel and second for rocket fuel, connected necessary fluids and whole production started working. Then I did standard auto-request logic on landing pad and rebuilt the power plant to be more effective and self-sufficient in terms of heat. But then the nightmare happened, blackout. It turned out we didn't have enough ice to make water, so the first thing I done was sending a ship to Fulgora for more ice. Even with ice, the solution wasn't easy, as we had lots of other machines that used electricity. I had to disconnect power plant from main grid, place more solar panels there, and after a while power in whole base was restored. The production speed of the ice field wasn't enough, so I designed a new, faster one to get as much of it as I could, and with that production we started expanding island much faster. Next on Aquilo's to-do list was expanding fuel crafting, as now we were using chemical plants instead of new cryogenic plants. I decided to build it near all reservoirs, a solid fuel production to 2 rocket fuel machines, and with a little bit of melted ice makes really fast production of this fuel. And as we built a lot of new facilities, the demand for energy skyrocketed, so I added another unit of power plant. With main base prepared, it was time to create main Aquilo things, starting from both hot and cold fluoroketon. One hot production goes into 2 coolers. This will be even too much for now. Next was all the lithium processing, so now we go to the bottom left corner of base, where we have brine reservoirs. Each lithium production goes into one furnace, and plates from there are going to store chests for bots to use them. Then I placed wells, connected them with pipes, and production started as it should. With lithium plates ready, nothing other left to do than making cryogenic science, as it requires 2 solid materials and 1 liquid, additionally giving hot liquid out. I decided to make it with help of robots. I fit 4 cryogenic plants in one block, put 8 productivity modules in each one to get as much free items as possible, and with that I got my first science pack setup. Now we need to get all these items into the orbit, so I quickly placed 4 silos, and we could start setting up whatever we want. With the additional science we need to make new beds in lab area, so I built it and researched the most crucial technologies, such as quantum processors, foundations, captive biter spawner, fusion power and railguns. This new build on Aquilo consumes a lot of energy, so we had second blackout, but this time I exactly knew why, so I disconnected power plants and quickly restored energy on surface. We need to do something about this power problem. Time for fusion power, but to get it we need quantum processors. So in a similar way like science, I prepared 4 electromagnetic plants, fully beaconed and moduled, connected necessary items via robots and surrounded whole build with heat pipes to unfreeze it to start working. Another main thing to start fusion power is fusion fuel cells, as we don't need much of them. I have just made a small production here, which will definitely be enough. With every item I needed, I started building actual fusion power plant, which was an easy thing to do, as only cores produce plasma and not everywhere turbines have also plasma output. Plus we need to do something with hot fluoroketon, but after hard 8 minutes I created this monster. I fire up this monster, and with this huge supply of power I could dismantle all the steam power plants, leaving just one. The last thing that we will need from Aquilo are railguns, so I made a cryogenic plant to take care of it. With railguns I could start designing the ultimate spaceship. This ship has to be big, so I started by placing a lot of foundations. This platform will go deep into space, so it needs a reliable power source. So I created another fusion reactor with potential to generate 400 megawatts of power. Next were front defenses. This part will contain lots of railguns to make us sure that no huge asteroid will destroy it. Even more normal turrets to get rid of normal asteroids, and as much of those rocket turrets to take care of big asteroids. This ship, ignoring getting us to the edge of the solar system, also will farm Prometheum asteroids, and to store them we need more space. So I moved whole defenses up, and in created space I built belt storages for these asteroids. To move this monster we need also a lot of engines, so I built them in symmetrical shape to look cool. Next were resources. We needed everything, so I created a framework that will produce all the materials that we need, placing iron and copper first, then carbon and sulfur, and finally ice and calcite. After that I started preparing fuel production, using every legendary module I could get. I made relatively small but effective fuel production, with separate water and fuel storage. Then I started preparing for ammo factory, and placed 6 foundries for steel, iron and copper plates and copper wire. With these materials I created piercing ammo, and above them railgun ammo production. Next were rockets, the hardest one to make, but I just started from building assemblers that will craft them. Then I created explosive production below rockets, but eventually decided to move whole unit under foundries. But these two cryogenic plants weren't even close to the production speed that we needed to make enough of explosives. So I tried my best on Aquilo and grinded a little bit of legendary lithium, and with addition of other legendary items I was able to make some legendary cryogenic plants, and quickly change normal ones on the ship to legendary ones. With this change the ship was ready for tests, so I connected asteroid collectors to belts for the first time, and the whole factory started working. Then I created ship schedule and the ship was ready to go on its first voyage. The last thing to do was getting lots of biter eggs on the space platform to make a little bit of Prometheum science there. I started from creating a framework using foundries, built some defenses in case something goes wrong, created belts that will supply nests with bioflags, placed 2 silos to load eggs directly into them, and placed 2 burner towers to burn eggs when the rocket cannot send any more into space. Then I placed 20 of those frameworks and started replacing foundries with captive biter spawners, and requested 10,000 eggs on the ultimate spaceship. With them on board I started the engines and the whole platform began a long journey to the edge of the solar system. After a while we arrived there. According to game we won. Yeah, 200 hours was definitely too much, but I took my time to make everything how I wanted. Although the game says that we have won, I'm not buying it. For me winning means acquiring Prometheum science and research technologies with it, and this is why I created this ship, so that our journey would not end here. After a while of going forward, first Prometheum asteroid appeared, and with it the production of science began. Stow away on the ship! And it's gone. Now we are carrying his corpse back to Nauvis. What an excellent adventure will it have. Now our ship went into last stage, filling belt storages with asteroids, to have a little bit of those back on Nauvis orbit. Now we are going back, full of stories, Prometheum science and Prometheum asteroids, to make use in home. The last time I built requesters in the labs area, set the black science request and started researching last technology, research productivity. Finally beating Space Age DLC. But the story doesn't end there. Once again I loaded Biter X on the platform, switched it on, and the spaceship launched into an endless adventure through the vastness of space.